The benefits are less stress, really. If you know when things are going to happen, it's gonna be better for you. And then it gives you the space to plan the projects and events that you need to happen. You can look ahead and say, well, we might not be able to do that right now, but give it a month and we can. Welcome to Simply Living Homestead, where we empower homesteaders and preserve traditions. I'm your host, Amanda Carlin, and I help homesteading families bring peace and order to their lives. My friend, are you overwhelmed with all the tasks on your homestead? Do you wish for a mentor to guide you through the tough moments each day? Then you've come to the right place. Together we will learn to organize our homestead, love our families well, and walk in the peace of God. If you're ready to get unstuck from the constant feeling of overwhelm, then join us each week as we explore practical advice, inspiring stories, and heartfelt encouragement to help you thrive. Let's grow a sustainable, meaningful life together, both in the home and on the homestead. Well, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are going to be talking about the rhythms of the seasons on the homestead, in the farm, on the land. The cycles really do follow seasons, and if we can attune our lives to these seasons, I have found that it will get us a lot further. It will serve us a lot better if we can flow and change with the seasons, going through the ups and the downs and the rippling flow of the seasons, as opposed to just trying to push and do everything at once or really force what we think is best and what we need to take care of. So today we are going to be looking at each of the different seasons, what one might expect in the different seasons on the homestead, and how we can better our lives if we do follow the seasons. The first place I'd like to look is the Bible. God created seasons and rhythms, and we should respect that. So what did God say about our seasons and our rhythms? Well, in Genesis 8:22, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. Ecclesiastes 3:1, for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. And Proverbs 147:8, he covers the heavens with clouds, he prepares rain for the earth, he makes grass grow on the hills. These verses really do give me a lot of hope and encouragement as I watch the seasons and the cycles change, and as things come and go, there's often a pressure to get things done, or maybe having things accomplished in a certain amount of time. And for some things, that's a good thing. Things have to kind of happen in their seasons. But the thing that I'm reminded of in these verses is that there's always next year, so long as the Lord liveth. And it's something where if we didn't get it done this year, maybe there'll be time to do it next year, or maybe he'll give you more time to do it. But if we're really paying attention to what he wants us to do, everything is going to happen in his timing. For us on our farm, there are things that always happen at specific times of the year. Calving, planting, the green bean harvest and having to do all that canning, the corn harvest and all the freezing that comes with corn harvest, soap making, and just general repairs. Those always happen about the same time each year. Every year, year to year, they always kind of happen the same time. So let's look at the first season, and that will be spring. Spring, the beginning of life, excitement. Everyone loves spring. I don't know anyone who doesn't love spring, and those that don't are often complaining about the mud. But oftentimes for most people, spring is that time of the year where you're starting to get the trees showing new life, and maybe you're really into flowers. I have some tulips and some hyacinths planted right outside our door, and they are my favorite thing ever, some daffodils, and they all kind of bloom at different stages, and I have them packed in tight enough that you'll get this bloom of tulips, and then you'll get the hyacinths to follow a little bit, and the daffodils always go first, and it just fills me with such like gratitude and excitement. So what could you expect in the spring on a farm? Well, planting is one of the big ones. You're going to start preparing your garden. You're going to start getting ready for whatever the season might hold, everything to grow, all your crops. So you're out there, you're putting your hands in the dirt and just really smelling in that nitrogen that's coming out of the ground. Absolutely gorgeous feeling, gorgeous smells. Everything just feels so fresh and clean. Calving usually happens in the springtime. New babies of all kinds. You have cows, you have goats, chicken babies are often coming in, baby pigs. Kind of depends on what you have on your farm. Lambs are born at that time of the year. This year we're expecting calves in the middle of April. We have 5 dairy cows pregnant this year, and I am super excited. So far we've only ever had 2 born at any time, and this year we're going to have 5 babies, so that's quite the undertaking for us. But it's also just this excitement of like watching those things like happen. But the thing to remember is you're building this excitement. That excitement for all the spring and things is, we kind of know that those things are going to happen, right? Like we've already discussed. So being prepared for them, thinking, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to have prepared for those babies to come? What do I need to have in stock? What do I need to buy for seeds? And like getting all of those things ready. The last 2 things that often happen in spring, usually happen in spring for us, is cleanup from the winter. In the winter, we're just not outside very much. We get in, we go out, we get in as fast as we can. It's cold here in Iowa. It's kind of been a weird winter, but you get these snaps, like just so cold that nobody wants to be anywhere. Cows have frost on their noses. And so a lot of things kind of they either get left out or they get set to the side because, we don't want to deal with them. So when spring starts hitting, cleanup from that winter is super important. Getting everything set away, getting everything put where they need to go so that we can tackle all of these new things that are happening. The other thing, especially if you're going to plant anything more than just a small garden, is equipment prep. Some farms have tractors. A lot of times those are maintained through the winter because of having to blow snow. But if they're not, you got to get out there. You've got to make sure that your planter is ready, or your discs, your plows, even like working on your hay balers. Hay usually isn't baled till summer, but spring is that time where you make sure all of those things are ready so that you can get in there and you can have go time right away. So you're not like going, oh, I need to harvest the hay, or I need to do this thing, and then you have to spend 3 days getting your equipment ready and you've missed your window. So making sure that your equipment is ready, even things like tillers, and some people have hand seeders, even small equipment, just making sure that those are ready. So that's what you do in the spring. In the summer, you've got the heat, and you've got school for most people not being in session. You got a break from that daily expectation of education. So summer is usually this time of building fences, repairing barns and equipment, beyond that of just preparing the equipment in the spring. If something is truly broken down, summer is usually the time to work on that. Your fingers are not numb from the cold, and you're not spending quite as much time in that harvest or the preparing. So spring and fall are usually seen as these times where you've got a big push to get something done. And then summer and winter are kind of the bottom of the ups and downs and the curves, because you've got time to take a breath. You've got time to take a breather. In the summer, you're going to start gathering produce a little bit. Depends on how early you can seed things. You're going to start harvesting your spring crops very early summer. Some people are getting like lettuce and radishes and those sorts of things out of the garden as soon as April here in Iowa. It really depends on where you're at. The further south you go, the sooner into the year you can get those. But I have seen people around us harvesting green beans as early as May, which is kind of crazy. I honestly need to ask them how they do it. Like, what's their technique that they got in? Because I can't even get my beans planted soon enough to do that. But people around me are doing it, so maybe I just need to step up on my planning game. I don't know. But for the most part, you're not having this big push of harvest. You're getting some fun, fresh produce that you can eat from. You can start eating with the seasons. But you're not going to be getting so much that you need to be breaking out your canner and doing all of that. Summer, like I said, is kind of the bottom of that curve. If you look at the year, you've got 2 hills and 2 valleys. Summer's that first valley there, and this is the time to make some time for adventure. Go to the zoo, go to your local science center or historical museum, or make time for camping or just exploring, or even a day trip to the creek or one of the local rivers or state parks near you. There are totally like free things that you can do for the day. But it's kind of a time where you're not pushing as hard unless you're working on a big project on the farm. So, the summer is that time for those big projects. But if you're not working on one of those, or if you can make time in between your big projects, take time to go and do stuff. That's something that you can plan into your day, your week, your months of the summer. Now we've got to autumn. Autumn, the time of harvest, the time to prepare for the slower seasons of winter, to prepare for the cold. The leaves start changing on the trees. A lot of people, fall is their favorite time of year. In the Midwest, it gets cooler. The evenings get cooler, but you still have warm days where you are not wearing jackets, you are not wearing leggings, but then it gets cooler and you go and you find them by the time the evening is over. Fires and time spent in the evening is something that if you can make time for, is really special at this time of year. But when it comes to the homestead, what are we looking at? We're looking at fruit harvest. So you're either bringing fruit in from a bulk supplier, or you are picking them off of your trees, or maybe you're finding some on like a buy nothing group or some of your local community pages. A lot of times I have found apples and peaches and stuff on really heavy years where there's just so much and the people don't want them. They're like, if you come pick it yourself, you can have it. Great places to find that. So fruit, veggies, your tomatoes are producing so much that you're like canning every day. Your green beans are being canned. This is the time of year where there's the running joke that you lock your doors in the Midwest. You lock your doors during zucchini season because you're not worried about your car being stolen. You are much more worried about having unwanted zucchinis put on your seat of the car, which I think is just very funny. But also a blessing to be able to share what you have with those around you. For us, Corn Day is a big thing that happens. Lots of families around us have a Corn Day where you have multiple families, multiple generations of those families get together and spend multiple hours picking, shucking, and cutting off that corn for the freezer. Among our friends groups and stuff, there's multiple families that do that. Big Corn Day. If you don't have family near you, maybe some of your neighbors would like to do that. It's such a fun time. Even the kids, like, all of my friends have very fond memories of doing it as children and helping. It's a very easy thing for children to help take part in. So corn day. Autumn is often the time where you butcher chickens. A lot of other butchering isn't done in the fall, autumn, but chickens generally are. So if you got in any butchering chickens, depending on what time of the year you started those, they're going to be ready summer to fall. You're going to start butchering your chickens. And I kind of mentioned the canning and freezing and other preservation. Like you are in hot and heavy. This is that time of the year where, especially if you're homeschooling, some people actually push their schooling to start in like October as opposed to August, like most mainstream schools, just so that everyone is all hands on deck to get all of that stuff put up for the winter and put away. You're also going to spend some time thinking about what you need to winterize. It's gonna be cold before you know it. So what are you going to do to winterize and get everything ready? Is there anything in the buildings that need to be buttoned up, tightened down, so the wind doesn't blow through? Are your heat lamps all ready? How about, do you have enough hay or straw set aside so you're not having to run out when suddenly you've got snow? So thinking about winterizing your processes. Last but not least, we have the winter. We have the bottom of our curve again, another valley. You're going to start finding time to do other things. You're going to focus on school. You're going to focus on maybe some repairs, but if you don't have a heated barn, they're going to be repairs that are inside or small project things. Back in the day, this would be the time of the year that you would like work on all of your harnesses and stuff for the horses. Now that we don't run that as much, I know some people that the winter is the time they bring the small engines into the dinner table and working on small engines and stuff. Not for every family, but it does happen. The other things you'll think about in the winter, besides the holidays and getting together with family and spending time with one another, doing activities and stuff that are more indoor in the winter, winter's the time for planning. Looking ahead to the next year, looking behind to say what went really well, what could be better, and making a plan for the next year. Things that I like to partake in, think about, or work into my winter, making sure that we have some more quiet evenings. It gets dark really early, and just being able to plan into your day that you're just not going to be working as hard and giving yourself that break that our bodies so desperately need. During that time, I'll work on hobbies. I do a lot more crocheting in the winter than I do during the summer or whatever. I do some painting, just some different hobbies that I personally enjoy. But whatever you enjoy. I have a couple of friends who really enjoy quilting, and they try and whip out a quilt every winter. Soap making, I will generally batch my soap making so that I have roughly enough for the entire year, and I make it all in a couple of weeks time. I just batch that out and get it out. If you have access to wax, candle making is something that often takes place in the winter. Butchering large animals is the other preservation thing that it's kind of a project that you do to prepare, put food on the table and do things for your family or with your family. Butchering the larger animals, your beef, your pigs, deer. A lot of people go hunting in the winter and they're bringing home deer. So that's something that, we kind of think about. We'll have a couple of weekends that are, or sometimes midweek, depends on when they shoot them. But we'll, kind of prioritize doing that ourselves. So then you just fall right back into that spring where things start hustling and bustling again, and it goes in that cycle. Rhythms and routines are something that I care a lot about, and I find to be really helpful when there's this routine, there's this way that things are done and the cycle that things happen in, but it's not the same every day, all day. And I find that to be a really big blessing to myself. I found that I can create drama if I get bored. And having this knowledge that things are happening, but it's happening in a cycle that is longer than a day or a week. Routines are important too, and we will talk about them more as we get on in this podcast. But just knowing that there is like a full routine of the year is just something that has been super beneficial to me to really think about, and I hope that you found it beneficial too. The benefits are less stress. Really, if you know when things are going to happen, it's gonna be better for you. And then it gives you the space to plan the projects and events that you need to happen. You can look ahead and say, well, we might not be able to do that right now, but give it a month and we can. And just knowing that those things happen, that those pushes of get it done, get it done, get it done, doesn't have to be all the time. That we can have seasons of quiet and we can have seasons of push, and that is designed by God. I hope these thoughts encourage you today. I'd like to invite you to join our newsletter. We've got lots of great content coming down the line, including deep dives into organizing the seasons on your homestead. Go to simplylivingHomestead.com to get signed up. And if you have any questions or tips about today's discussion, send me an email at connect@simplylivingHomestead.com and tell me all about it. I'd love to hear from you. Well, neighbor, before you head out, I just want to say how much I've loved spending this time with you. If you too enjoyed our time together, don't forget to give us a follow and leave a quick review on your favorite podcast player. It really helps more women like us find their way to a simpler, more joyful life. And hey, if you know someone who'd enjoy this episode, why not share it with them? Let's keep growing this circle of encouragement together. Oh, and don't forget to join my email list. I've got some free printables and weekly tips waiting for you to help you live a purposeful, balanced life, one rooted right in the heart and home. Thanks for being here, friend. You're doing a great job. I can't wait to chat again next week here at the Simply Living Homestead.